I really want just like EJ to groggily open up Discord and see that the both of us are in the now recording channel and immediately get mad because we didn't tell him that we were going to be recording on a Sunday morning. And then we will both be extremely validated and are saying, yeah, we did tell you. We told you this like 3 days ago. You just didn't check your text messages. You ding dong.
Me? Gungaga.
Console Crusade podcast? It's a strange morning. I'm Chris Gillyford here with Nick Durheim.
A pleasure as always, Chris.
And no EJ Olsen at this moment.
Missing in action.
Yeah, we may have had some miscommunications. We're just getting some stuff on tape that may be fun for y'all to listen to, and hopefully EJ will wake up and, as Nick said, groggily check the Discord and see that we're in the now recording channel and rumble on over. I thought we communicated pretty well. I had proposed like let's do a double whammy today, but then I had to rearrange my rehearsal schedule to account for some stuff. I was like, okay, let's just do like 10 to 11:40. He did not reply to that.
No reply is not communication, unfortunately. It's not no confirmation. That's not dialogue. That is a monologue.
Maybe should have followed up yesterday. Sometimes I feel like a pest when I'm like, all right, so what are we doing? So what are we doing? I don't like feeling that way, but that's on me for not doing that.
Yeah, we're all, busy adults with jobs and lives and stuff. So sometimes a good pestering is appreciated. Maybe not in the moment, but in the long run, I like to be pestered.
EJ's running like 6 successful and lucrative businesses from his office. So
irons in the fire.
Irons in the fire. What a great name for a rock band that would be.
It's a good business name for like a wedding planner or something.
A wedding planner or a life coach or something. That could be the name of the life coach's book, Irons in the Fire, your guide to navigating successful enterprises.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Extra words.
Yeah, exactly. Buzzwords. Synergy, engagement.
There you go. Manifesting. So Chris, let's do you want to talk about Rebirth first, or should we talk about how far I've gotten in Final Fantasy VII?
Tell me where you've gotten in Final Fantasy VII, because while I'm sure you're at least cursorily familiar with most of the big plot beats of this game, it may be fun if I don't get too specific about some stuff that we got in the demo. So tell me where you're at.
I just finished the snowboarding section. So I'm in disc 2, apparently.
The snowboarding section, you land, and that's like right around where you get Alexander, right?
Yes. I haven't gotten Alexander yet, but I will be soon.
Okay. So what's the last sort of big plot beat?
The last big plot beat was the big plot beat. It's the one that everyone knows. So I didn't have context for what that meant, and like there's a lot of stuff that happens before that sort of colors the impact of that moment, in which I had very little context for. Like I've heard not a lot as far as the character of Cloud, and I think that was a very pivotal moment for him as well. And there's just been drips and drops implying certain things about the nature of his past and who he is and his role in the whole story.
So you are referring, I am going to guess, to a certain scene in a certain body of water?
Well, that and everything prior to that as well.
Sure. And when you're talking about Cloud and his past, you've gotten drips and drops, but not a bucket full of water?
Yes.
Okay, great. Are you aware of
yet.
What's in the bucket?
Very obtusely, but also like I could say some things and maybe get half of it right. So I'm just not going to.
Okay.
But I have a fairly good idea that Cloud has been fucked with. That much is like glaringly obvious.
Okay.
But what the extent of that means is not obvious yet.
Great. That gives me a lot to work with when I talk about the Rebirth demo.
It gives me some insight into what I think is going on with both Remake and Rebirth with regards to the past sequence that was shown initially in the first reveal for Rebirth, incorporating Zack, and also like more stuff with Sephiroth because I know you fought Sephiroth in Remake. That's correct.
You did.
Which was not in that section of the game.
Nope.
In the original Final Fantasy. So there's seems to be some changes, but also because of the nature of who Cloud is and what the storytelling has been like with him, it could very much still be like, yes, this is what is happening, but also not, because mind fucks and also live stream and, just reality changes also means time changes, which also means different realities. So it's all sort of cohesive in that way.
Yeah, as cohesive as that idea could possibly be cohesive, especially in the hands
as
of...
cohesive as Nomura could pull out of his belt-ridden ass.
Yes, give me 6 belts and I will be happy.
The pointiest hair you've ever seen.
So pointy. Well, it's very fluffy in Remake and Rebirth.
Unreal Engine 5 tech.
Yeah. Soft and feathered and impossible to style outside of the confines of a video game. Well, great. So what are you thinking about this game so far? This is your first time playing this, right?
Yes, I had rented this alongside, I think it was Anthology that had 4 and 5, or no, 5 and 6. And
yes.
I kind of put a little bit of time into each of them back in the day. So when I say a little bit of time, I mean like maybe a little bit of time for Nick, half an hour to an hour.
Yes.
Like I think I got to the Honeybee Inn or a little bit past that in my original rental time back in the day. So yeah, this is definitely a lot further than I've gotten. It's interesting. The materia system is cool. I like how that works. On standard speed, everything is so painfully slow.
Oh yeah.
That it's hard for me to like want to interact with the battles or traversal at all. Like it's just a dick stomp waste of time. So I play a lot of this game at 3 times speed,
of course,
which is built into this version that I'm playing on Switch. And I play almost at this point because I get it and I don't like active time battle. I don't like the pressure of being attacked while I'm in a menu. I have the easy mode turned on so that I always have instant refill of limits and my health regenerates instantly. And unless I'm one shot, I don't die. So
great.
The battle system I've not been interfacing with whatsoever. I still like the idea of the materia system. Obviously, it's probably informed the other way around, but it reminds me of Golden Sun and the way you would equip the djinns, and that would impact the way you use magic, but a little bit more straightforward than that, less mixing and matching like that system had. The story's cool. It's pretty like ham-fisted in some ways, but I mean, it's 1997 that this game came out, so I can't really fault it for that. It's like, it's nice. I don't have like a lot of strong opinions about it yet. I think I probably will more towards the end, but it's been enough that I've put maybe like 8 or 9 hours into it. So
that's great. You're in it then. I mean, you are well on your way. If you're at this point of disc 2, I mean, you're gonna beat this thing. That's great. Yeah, man. The story, 90s, absolutely. There's some stuff that is really, hit you over the head with a foam 2x4 kind of thing. A lot of what it did narratively and what it did in terms of like these character archetypes was brand new at that moment in time, which I think informs a lot of the strong reception to it. It's like, who is this? I mean, this was such a fucking departure from all of the SNES and Genesis era JRPG pro tags who were all basically the same person with different clothes. Super cool.
They're all Luke Skywalker. It's all Farm Boy fantasy.
Yeah,
pretty
exactly.
Much before this.
Yeah, exactly. Materia, you haven't played 6, right? You played a little bit of 6?
Very, very small amount of 6.
Tiny bit of 6. Yeah, this I think was not a correction's the wrong word, but the magic system in 6 in which you attach what's the name of the rock? Magicite, I think. That sounds wrong. Right. I know Magicite is in 12, but basically like the crystallized espers, it would allow you to master magic associated with them. And then you could just basically, what I did and what almost everybody did, because that system is so broken, is just shuffle all of the Esper crystals through every party member that you're using until everybody is just a fucking god machine of ultimate spell tier magic. Very easily breakable with basically no drawbacks. And Materia, I think, is a correction, a course correction from that, in that each spell has an associated stat boost, but also some associated restrictions. And many strong pieces of materia will lower your stats, will lower your max HP, will lower your max MP. So it's not as simple as just giving everybody really good stuff. You actually have to think a little bit more about, can I actually afford to have this person take an HP hit? Who do I really need to be using magic? Can everybody have the same kind of spells, or do I have to customize a little bit more? There's a lot more give and take. So you had to think more carefully about the way you used it, because 6 is so broken. It's so easily exploitable. And then they course corrected the other direction way too far in Final Fantasy VIII, where everything just makes you amazing because you can junction magic to spells and break the game open within the first 2.5 hours by turning cards into magic and shit like that. It's just definitely a response to 6. But I think they got it right. And I think that's why that system remains so, that kind of system is more popular than some of the subsequent magic systems, and especially once they started forcing you to just have specific party members that did specific things, and losing some of the customization aspect of that is that they just didn't want it to be too easy. But it is an elegant system, and it's memorable. Materia are cool. That's the thing you could sell on a storefront. Those beautiful crystal orbs. It just looks neat when it's in the weapons. I love that in Remake, that you see the different colors of materia in your accessories and in your weapons when they're equipped. Just neat little things like that make the world come alive.
It seems like it's a little bit easier to balance. I do think, personally, the ridiculousness of getting overpowered via a multi-class kind of system is more fun in the long run. I want to be a god at the end of one of these games. I don't want to have to keep juggling. Oh, is this, the risk reward? Is it going to make my character too squishy because I want to give it destruct? I don't really want to interface with that. An RPG isn't fun because it's hard. It's fun because you have a lot of options. So I could see some people being unhappy with the materia system and its ramifications because of this becoming the most popular Final Fantasy title. I know a lot of people also do bemoan the lack of returning to the job system as what was incorporated in 5 and 6 and 4 even.
That's part of why I stand 12 so hard, is that, a lot of people ride the sphere grid dick really hard. And I get it. Once I got around to 10, many, many years after that came out, I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. But it's still a track that you fill and is fairly linear. It's just which road do you want to go down first with each character, but they're going to end up exactly as they're going to end up because you have limited options. You only have what you have for each of those characters in 10. The license board in 12 is an open choice sphere grid where you can create de facto job systems based on what parts of the license board you fill out. And then in the Zodiac Age, in the localization of the European release, I think that was where that existed originally. There are literally job boards, and you can choose 2 for each of the party members. So you do get a job system in that game. Part of why I stand that game so hard. I feel like you're onto something with regards to JRPGs. And of course, me, I'm an over leveler. I want to go into an area I'm not supposed to be, or I can just barely survive long enough to farm massive amounts of EXP and AP or whatever the particular system in the game is at a very early stage, so that I can just run train through the story, then find another area where I can do the same thing and lather, rinse, repeat. But I do especially, later in a JRPG, for them to find a sweet spot between, this is not so hard that I feel like it's unearned, but that I'm still challenged. I don't want to breeze through the final boss fights. I want there to be a little bit of difficulty, and whether that comes from some particularly punishing status effect based moves that so many of these super bosses have, where you're oh shit, now I'm silenced and confused and I'm a frog. And you have to plan accordingly for moves like that. Or if it's just that they are a little more OP maybe than they ought to be based on the progression of difficulty through the game. I want a little challenge. I want to sweat a little bit.
Yeah, and that's just hard to do in a game that allows you to get experience and gain levels and gain strength at your leisure. So you end up either correcting the other way, where you make it so that you're either punished for trying to farm experience via a game that we both know and love with Paper Mario, where you start getting just one experience for even for difficult, like normally difficult enemies, or you don't do that and then you're just cakewalking for the last 25% of the game and it feels a little bit less earned. The stakes are not as high because you are not struggling, so that's just a inherent flaw with allowing a player to interact with your systems. But then you get to have optional content like the weapons, which will actually put your dick in the grinder, and you will struggle unless you come exactly prepared and you follow a guide probably. Otherwise, you're going to be doing a lot of headbutting the screen until you get it just right.
Oh God, yeah. Speaking of Final Fantasy X, that had the optional secret boss that was only in, I think, the PAL version. The 10.10.2 remake double pack had that. There's no fucking way I could have done that unless I knew exactly what loadout to have with the exact party and the exact progression of how that fight went. And I still fucked it up like a half dozen times before I finally beat him. That's insane. Speaking of weapons, you see the thing I put in the Discord that people spotted on the posters and Tifa's walls that they have explicit references to Ruby and Emerald weapon. I was like, oh, baby. Yeah. I can't wait to see what those fights.
And there'll be one for Diamond as well. Like you're going to see all of them in like fun little pastiche ways, because what is the job of a remake but to remind you of stuff from the original?
Yeah, exactly. Curious question before I pivot over to talking about the demo is, at this point in your playthrough of the original Final Fantasy VII, what do you know about Mr. Zack Fair?
What do I know?
Yeah, I mean, has he even been introduced?
He has not. His parents have.
Okay.
So his parents are asking me where he is, and Tifa's like, oh, I know that person, but I'm not going to say anything because I have to make a very oblique reference to this to the future. The future is going to be happening, so I'm going to have to talk about that later. But no, he is a character who has not been introduced, and the only things I know about him are things that I've heard or thought I've heard via other people speaking about it. Okay. So I'm not going to speculate at this point.
No, that's good.
Also, some very funny clips of him saying "Gone Gaga." People love the way he says it in Crisis Core, apparently.
Well, then I will. Great. I'm glad that I asked that question, because then I'm going to say way less about this demo than I would have otherwise. And that's great. I love that you are not trying to prognosticate and want to just let things unfold.
At least not out loud right here,
Yeah, exactly. So I have done the Rebirth demo twice. It is the famous calm in flashback section shortly after you get out of Midgar. I think it might be the first thing you do when you get out of Midgar. I don't remember. You would know because you just are playing it right now.
It is pretty much, unless you skip calm and go to the Chocobo farm and get a Chocobo, you get some grass, and that's about it. That's all you can do before you can go. You have to go to calm before you can even exit that area.
Great. Okay. Then yeah. So that's like the first thing, which is pretty much, it sounds like where we're going to pick up in Rebirth, is that they're going to take you straight to Calm and then they'll open up the world for you. The Nibelheim flashback of Cloud returning to his hometown with Sephiroth on a mission to go explore the reactor that is in the area. And this is where Sephiroth starts to lose his mind a little bit and break bad with questions about his own existence and why the person that he believes to be his mother, why her name is over a sealed room in the back of the reactor and these tanks that are conducting human experiments and what this all means. And then spending time in the Shinra Manor and reading more about what he believes to be his own creation. And then absolutely slaughtering the whole town of Nibelheim before the famous, iconic, maybe this like iconic shot in all of the original Final Fantasy VII of Sephiroth like staring at you from the flames and turning and walking into the darkness behind the fire. So I did it twice. The first time I really went through and poured over everything, looked in every nook and cranny. They throw a lot of different kinds of materia at you, which I strongly suspect is not going to be the case in the full version. But we'll see. Including some things that offer some ways into new abilities, which I'll talk about a little bit. And it is a beautifully and lovingly recreated version of this in 3 dimensions. I got done with the demo the first time, did the boss with the Materia Guardian, and got through, basically quick time event cutscene of moving through Nibelheim while it's on fire and Sephiroth killing people and blah, blah, blah. And I felt like I was playing this game wrong. I got done and I went, this was such a struggle in combat. What am I not doing? And I thought that I had taken a pretty good amount of time to read all of the different explanations of the combat abilities as they were being spooled out to me. But I still was like, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. So I went to Reddit and I looked up some demo impressions from different people and spooled through a bunch of different threads until I found one that unlocked a lot of stuff for me mentally that I had misread one thing. In Remake, the only characters that have ranged attacks are Barret and to a lesser extent Aerith, but hers are, of course, a lot less physically powerful because she's sort of like a buff debuff healer type character. And those are the only people who could hit with range. In Rebirth, everyone can hit from range. If you dodge and then tap attack, you will do a ranged attack that can reach enemies in places in the arena where you cannot get physically. I understood that. What I didn't understand in the explanation for that particular mechanic is that if you hold the attack button after a dodge, it will take you into the air against airborne enemies so that you could start doing some air combos. I thought that I just had to hold the attack button, period. And so I was sitting here like holding attack and doing something that was not what I thought it was going to do. And was like, I don't get what I'm not doing. And it is phrased very strangely. Figuring that out immediately made a world of difference because they give a lot of winged enemies to you in this first section, in this demo section, because they want you to understand how this mechanic works. So that unlocked a ton for me. And then once I got airborne, I realized I was not spending enough time looking at some of these abilities that you can use when you filled your ATB gauge by doing standard attacks. They are so incredibly specific situationally and are all really useful. The game really wants you to engage with these abilities and not just stick with standard attacks all the time. So like Braver, classic limit break from 7, if you hit that in the air, it gets a damage multiplier. So when you get airborne, you want to build ATB, dodge, which will keep you airborne, avoid taking damage, and then pop Braver, and you'll do a huge amount of damage. Triple Slash does increase damage if you hit 3 different enemies with it. It will successively increase the damage it does. So if you've got a crowd, you want to use that. And then forward slash thrust, I don't remember what it's called, does a bunch of stagger damage. So if you can get an enemy into what they call a pressured situation, where you do a bunch of damage in a short time, you can increase their stagger more in that window, hit something like, again, forward slash, I don't remember what it's called, and you can build stagger really, really fast and push them towards a stagger where you can do increased damage and they are immobile. Totally and completely opened up the world for me in terms of combat. And the only other thing that I didn't realize they were insistent on me using is that every character can now both block and also, if you block with good timing, parry and negate all damage and effects from an attack. If you don't do that, if you do not engage with that, you will take damage. You will not be able to dodge everything. You will be able to dodge way less than you think you are able to dodge. You have got to parry. All of those things put together, I blasted through the demo on my second playthrough. And it is so fun and interesting and thrilling of thinking about all of these things in real time and deploying them situationally, hitting a perfect parry to stun an enemy for a second and then popping an ability. When you open up your abilities menu, everything slows so that you have time to make your choice. I know, like Nick, speaking of what you were saying about ATB and 7, that you're like, you have like active time choice anxiety. When you do that in this game, since it is a real-time action game, it will stop for you so you can make those choices, which I really appreciated because then I felt like I could breathe, I could assign commands to a couple party members at the same time, and then re-engage with the situation as was happening. Yeah, it is like butter when you are using all of the systems that they really want you to use clear improvement over the combat in Remake, which was already good. This is a great combat system, and it is definitely better than Final Fantasy XVI's, which was fine, but ultimately was pretty mashy. It was attack, 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 icon, 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 attack, 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 icon, 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 like lather, rinse, repeat forever. And this is even with like barely getting into any of the synergy skills you can use depending on the composition of your party. Oh my God. Like this game gives you so much stuff that you could do that's all really useful situationally in battle. I cannot wait for the second part of this demo to come out so that I can try out a bunch of the different party members and see what the open world looks like by way of Square Enix.
I was going to ask, what all does the second part of the demo entail? I don't remember. I didn't look into this.
Yeah, the second part of the demo is going to give you a condensed area outside of Junon in the open world that you can use. And they're going to give you a chocobo. So this is not going to be reflective of like an actual section of gameplay. This is them saying, we're going to give you a piece of the open world with a specific progression you can do. Also, here's a bunch of party members, have fun. And you can get used to what some of the different things they can do in tandem with each other. I'm going to spend a lot of time with that. Figuring out the rock, paper, scissors of different things that the characters can do together. Ultimately, I'm probably going to use the same party comp, but you know.
Yeah, have they said whether you have to have Cloud in your party? Because I am still in Final Fantasy VII, in my playthrough, I still am required to have Cloud in my party at all times.
You are. Yeah, I don't think that will ever change unless they give you a specific situational thing where he's not in it. And I can't remember any of those in the original 7, but I would assume that Cloud has to be in the party.
There's a very small section where you're playing as Aeris, but that's about it.
Yeah, see, I was like, there may be one little one. I was trying to think about it.
But it's not a combat. Is it? I don't remember if there's even a fight. I don't think there is. I think you're just sort of walking around doing something.
Yep, you gotta have Cloud. He's your pro tag. And I mean, you know me, I'm a 12 guy, and you can put whoever the fuck you want in your party in 12. They're not gonna require you to have anybody, which I liked. But there are some things to discuss that maybe indicate this game doesn't have quite the ceiling that we all thought it was. I know that Brennan took this game as the #1 overall draft pick in our Fantasy Critic draft, and if it had fallen to me at number 2, I would have taken it. Even in graphics mode, the facial models on the characters and a lot of the sort of background textures and world stuff is not great. One person, I wouldn't go quite this far, described it as, looking like there was like Vaseline rubbed on his screen. The facial models are bad, like legitimately not good at all. For a game that has this much power, it's kind of shocking. And it also, in graphics mode, dramatically affected the performance of this game for me. That panning the camera around honestly might have made me sick if I'd have stuck with this mode for too long because of how hard the frames were chugging when I was swinging the camera around. I was going to be playing in performance mode anyway, but for the graphics mode to have that substantial of a dip in performance was pretty disappointing. And then, of course, in performance mode, when you're prioritizing frames, you get, that 10 to 15% decrease in graphical fidelity to account for it, which makes the faces look even worse. I didn't have as big an issue with a lot of the sort of like world aspects of the graphics, like the things that are all around you, the environments, the textures. They look fine to me. The enemies looked fine to me. But that's had a wildly variable experience for a lot of different people. And there's been some really lukewarm responses to a lot of the final previews from outlets that the open world elements of this game are fine to good, but don't offer anything new in the way of an open world. And so I feel that if reviewers...
I wouldn't expect there to be.
You'd think... I mean, I don't know. I guess that's not necessarily a problem, but if people sort of go, yeah, that's fine. We've seen that before and they do it well, then it may not be an issue. But if they do it just okay, it may be.
Just personally, from my perspective, as someone who has played 2/5, 3/5 of this game now, that I don't think that the traversal in the world is anywhere close to the point of the game. So as long as it's not like dreadfully dull in between places, you want to kind of beeline to cities anyway. If they scatter some materia here and there and incorporate additional side quests, then like cool. But I don't think that's like required for this game to be fantastic.
It seems like they're really going whole hog on making this a very big open world. You think about like a traditional Final Fantasy world map, and it's basically like some mountain textures and some forest textures and cities where it's just random encounters until you get to a town. But this is going to be, you're going to spend most of your time in the open world in this game. So I think it is important that they at least do a competent job, if unspectacular. But we'll see. I think this could be closer to an 85, although it's going to be a 90 for me, absolutely guaranteed. Holy shit balls, the man himself, EJ Olsen.
Welcome.
Hey, brother.
Check. Hey, guys, sorry.
Dude, that's all right. Good morning. Good to see you.
How you doing, baby boy?
Is Chris regaling you with the tales of Final Fantasy Rebirth demo?
Well, not before I regaled him with my experience with Final Fantasy VII, the game that I am now like a third of the way through or more.
Oh
more.
my.
You're closer to half, maybe even a little past half.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of the optional content that will be an option I don't take.
Exactly. I think you've probably only got like 20% left because disc 3, to my memory, has a couple of events, and then otherwise
it's probably mostly cutscenes at that point. I mean, that's like PlayStation trying to put videos on disc.
Yeah, that, a lot of side content that, like you said, you're not doing, and then, you know, here's your final area. Go nuts.
Right.
The only other thing I'll say about the demo, and I'll do it very obliquely, is that for people who know, they do an absolutely fantastic job of laying in things that will make a lot of sense to people later in this game, probably. And Nick, for you, by the time you get to the end of the second disc of this game. And I'm excited for you to get there. And then whenever we record after that, I'll get into some more specifics of what all of that means. But I was like, damn, this is awesome. For folks who know, this is very cool and very well done. And for folks who don't, it's going to be super cool for them to discover.
Yeah, it feels like it makes sense for this game to end at Forgotten Capital. There can be additional things sort of interspersed, and have they confirmed that it's going to have all of the characters by that point? Like they're going to have Vincent and Yuffie and everything?
Sid and Vincent will be with you, but will not be combatable in the same way that Red 13 was at the end of Remake.
Okay. Oh, they even added Red 13 to Remake. That's interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
well, yeah. So, yeah, I had totally forgotten about that because
You get him in
definitely
Midgar.
don't get him. Yeah, but do you? Like,
Well,
whenever
exactly.
you're introduced to a character at the very end of like a thing, like it makes sense for them not to have Sid be playable. I mean, I haven't really even used Vincent at all. He's just sort of like a emo vampire guy.
He's such a
hanging out in a
Chad.
coffin, like a weirdo.
I fucking love him. I was my OG, well, not my OG playthrough, but my second playthrough was Cloud Vincent Yuffie. And that's my like ideal strat. He's such an edgelord and I love it. And his limit breaks are cool. I don't know if you've fucked around much with them. But they're super tight, different like transformations basically. And he just used a gun.
Interesting.
I was like, that's so fucking cool. This fucking
Barrett
JRPG
uses a gun.
character. Well, yeah, a gun arm, but also Barrett was written like shit in the original FF7 and isn't too much better in Remake, which is disappointing.
I don't know. I think him and Tifa probably have the most pathos out of the entire cast, which isn't saying much.
Tifa
It's like them
easily.
and Cloud, and that's about it. Like even Eris, I'm like, whatever.
Fair.
Catchy, like extremely whatever.
Oh yeah,
Sid
no
is
one
like
uses him.
he's just horny for rockets, and he's sad that he got cucked out of it. Like I don't know. There's just these anime trope people.
I think Sid's gonna be a blast to play in whatever the third game is because the way that they did Lance.
Well, yeah, he's dragooning all over the place. That sounds awesome to play it in an actual game, but in like a turn-based JRPG, it's not as fun.
Not at all. The way they did like spear and dragoon-based combat in Final Fantasy 16 was so fucking tight in the enemies who used it that I can only imagine they're gonna have some similar like move abilities for him.
Yeah. that sounds
Anyway,
cool.
EJ, how the fuck are you, man?
I'm okay. I was supposed to be on a trip with a client this weekend for the Super Bowl weekend, which is something they do. And I went last year and it was cool. But this year, they were like, oh, by the way, there's going to be like 16 people there and half of us are sleeping on a couch. And I was like, I'm too old for that, man. Sorry. So I got one of those rare free weekends.
Real quick, EJ, Do you want to do a little mid-recording countdown so that you can be synced up right when you get in here and synced up at the end? To mix it up, I can even count up. I mean, we literally do count up, so I don't know what the point of even saying that was. So why do you drive on a parkway and park on a driveway?
Why they call it Iceland when it's green as hell, and they call it Greenland when it's full of ice? It doesn't make any sense.
Why is a boxing ring square?
So anyway, I have a free weekend, so that's cool. Spent all day yesterday cleaning the garage and the house. And
how's that going?
Bah humbugging the house. The tree finally came down February 10th. No big deal.
It'll go up September 30th.
21st. So it depends on the weather, like we established, but
it'll still be in the blazes of summer at the end of September.
Yeah.
It's like the hottest time of the year in Oregon.
So anyway, sorry, I just misunderstood Chris when he formulated a plan and then immediately was like, never mind. And I was like, okay. And I did not latch onto the part where he said, but we're still going to record it in the morning. So
it's okay. When we both hopped in here, I was like, I don't know if EJ even read this because he never said anything. He hasn't said anything in this chat since like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
We were talking about the Pokemon Mini.
Well, anyway, I'm here. Sounds like you guys have had a lot to talk about, so that's good.
Yeah, we spared you the Final Fantasy VII stuff so that you didn't have to sheepishly hem and haw.
Listen, he's already watched all the videos. He knows everything about this story of these games. He's basically an expert. He's ready for Rebirth.
Listen, I could start playing Rebirth. I got through 2 discs, which is about 4.5 hours of recaps on YouTube. I don't know how the story ends yet because that's another 2 hours of YouTube content I have to watch.
Oy vey.
You play some Dragon Ball Super Warrior, Legendary Super Warriors, and listen to a man tell you about Final Fantasy VII.
I have not had time for any video games because all my video game time has gone straight into Warzone. They just dropped a new ranked mode for Resurgence.
No. Oh, God damn it.
How many Warzone funeral episodes have we had on this podcast?
It's Warzone 3, baby. It's a new fucking world we living in.
Oh my God. It's like Warzone is like a main character in an anime that everyone fucking knows has plot armor, but EJ still is convinced they're dead every time that they want us to think that they're dead. And me and Nick are like, this character's not dead. Nobody dies in a shonen. They're going to come back. And then they cut back and EJ's like, oh my God, they're back. And then they die again. And he's just like, fuck, it's over.
It's like motherfucking Vegeta keeps getting wished back with the Dragon Balls. And it's like, no, he's a bad guy. We don't like this guy. He's evil. But here I am rooting for him.
Warzone is the abusive boyfriend and EJ's the poor girl with confidence issues. And we're all just waiting for him to get knocked up.
Oh my God.
That's the most Gresham thing you've ever said.
Oh my. Yeah. I mean, listen, we're on the 3rd iteration of this game, and they brought an old map back from Warzone 1 this week, and they brought in a ranked mode. So I absolutely, positively no-lifed this game for the last 3 days because, again, I was supposed to be on vacation, and now I'm home doing nothing. So when I say I no-lifed this game, guys, I played it for like 10 hours a day. It's been bad for like 3 days. Anyway, I'm sick in the head again, and I could talk all about their new rank system, which is very frustrating, but I've been grinding it nonetheless.
Is there a goal? Is there a place where you want to be that will make you happy, or is it just the chase?
I would love, so what do we have? We have bronze, silver, gold.
Yeah. Platinum,
diamond, crimson, iridescent, then top 250. I'll never hit top 250 because I'm not that good, and also that's
shooting for crimson. Then
I'm shooting for iridescent. If I can get 10,000 SR, and the system is weird because okay, you get points for kills, you get points for assist, you get points for teammate kills, you get points for placement, and then you lose points when you die. But as you go up in rank, and the more SR points that you have, there's a deployment fee. So now I'm loading into games with like minus 50. So you're only getting 5 per kill. You're losing, I think I'm losing like 7 per death now. So it's really hard to stay positive and dig out of that hole at the beginning of every match. So it's become like not just, hey, we got to get in and get a bunch of kills, but like we have to like game the system for placement, and it feels kind of ratty.
What rank are you at right now?
I am in Platinum 1 with like 4,000 SR. I need 6,000 more.
Brother, does the deployment fee change at all as you keep climbing ranks?
It gets worse.
That sounds like
It's brutal.
that sounds like hell.
It's brutal.
You're gonna be so mad every time you like throw a match on accident or someone in your team is like not performing. You're gonna lose friends over this.
I mean, it happened yesterday. I was playing with, well, first of all, my brother was high as hell and just not locked in.
My brother in Christ is unlocked.
I lost like 250 SR over the course of like less than an hour. And I was like, I have completely undone an entire day's worth of grinding. Like, what is happening?
Just on tilt. Yeah. No dice, brother.
Anyway, it's a grind, and I'm here for it.
I wish you weren't. I'm glad it makes you happy, question mark. I just don't want you to fall back down a pit of only playing this fucking game. There's so much out there that will be so cool to talk about. We could play together.
He needs that
Warzone.
despair. He needs that stress.
Makes you feel alive.
Having a ranked mode has ruined like normal mode for me. So now it's just full on sweat lord. Like I hop in and I see everyone's playing like zombies or something. I'm like, fuck you guys, I'm going to ranked. I'll sit there solo queuing with strangers and screaming at them, which is probably better for my relationships. Anyway, that's all I've done. I haven't played anything else. Well, I've been playing Pokemon every night, just catching shit. Really mundane at this point.
At this point, just now, it's starting to get a little mundane.
We're gonna goob rubric this fucking game, and there's gonna be a lot of positive and like two really overwhelmingly negative things that have kind of made it an overall milquetoast experience.
What's yours?
He's teasing the future. It's going to be in the future. It's not going to be today.
Yeah.
Well, damn. You want to just hop right to an honorable mention?
For Game Boy Advance, I don't have this figured out. Oh my gosh.
I've got to look at what's on our. I think we only have one Game Boy Advance game, so that makes it pretty easy. Actually, you just can't do Mother 3. That's the only one.
There's a lot of options. I don't know about y'all. As soon as we said that we were going to do this, I just did every Nintendo console in like an afternoon. So I would have it locked and ready to rip.
I don't do that kind of homework, brother. Pick your favorite Game Boy Advance game, AJ. You can talk about Iridium 3D. I would like to talk about Super Mario World on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, right.
Where they put the voice of Charles Martinet in the game, and also you can't see as much of the screen. It's actually just strictly worse than Super Mario World, but you know,
Has to be the worst way to play that game.
it also had Super Mario Brothers, so you could game link cable with a friend, jump on Koopas.
Will never not be funny.
Okay, so here's some things I'm discovering right now. Platformed in title,
Legacy of Goku 2, not that good.
not that good. Boo's Fury, decent. So I'm not only discovering that like I clearly have games, like several games missing from my collection app. Like none of the Fire Emblems are here. Advance Wars isn't here. Anyway,
We've talked about this, CJ. The spreadsheet or nothing. You control the spreadsheet.
Dude, for real, this is really frustrating. So I clearly have things missing from my app. But also all I own is pretty much some Dragon Ball Z games, Mother 3, and a bunch of Pokemon.
It's fair.
Did I only play Pokemon on Game Boy Advance? Is that pretty much all I ever played?
Yeah.
That would make sense, I guess. Fire Emblem, which Nick and I
Did I
both
lend you
rented.
Golden Sun? Did you try Golden Sun?
I don't know if I played it back in the day.
Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga.
Of course, yes. We talked about that at length on multiple occasions, so I won't bring it up.
It's a great game.
Castlevania Circle of the Moon.
I tried to play it. You know what I'm going to do? Let's do our honorable mentions.
Let's go.
I can start if you guys want some more vamp time.
Let's talk about Fusion, baby.
Listen,
What? It's a good game.
it is. I would like to think I'm not quite so predictable.
Would have been mine if it wasn't yours.
Well, it's not mine, so you're welcome to.
Damn, I have to change.
Yeah, Fusion is not mine. No, my honorable mention, surprising no one, although perhaps apparently Nick, because he thought I would have gone with Fusion, it's Metroid Zero Mission. This is, living now in the era of the remake, like the last year plus of all these games that have been getting remade. It's easy to forget that Zero Mission, now we just think of it as the definitive way to play Metroid 1, but at the time that released in the mid 2000s, it was you played the original Metroid on the NES, or you played it on Metroid Prime by connecting to Metroid Fusion via a link cable, which, of course, I did. but it was old and obtuse, and there wasn't a real save system, and you didn't really know where you were going. There was no map at that point. So for Nintendo to go back to Metroid and to remake it so incredibly well with the movement speed and map system and weapon types of, well, not exactly weapon types, but broadly speaking, weapon systems of Metroid Fusion was a frickin' revelation. And it is still the definitive way to play this game and one of the best remakes of, especially an early NES property that's ever been made. This game is amazing. The epilogue that they add after the events of the original game, in which your suit is lost and the Zero suit is introduced for the first time. You have nothing but a stun pistol and a single 99 health energy tank that is literally your own life vitality. And turning it into a stealth sequence where you have to evade space pirates inside one of their own ships. Like getting to be in a space pirate ship for the first time. Like, what does that look like? What's their technology? What are the systems that they're employing? Before eventually finding your way into a series of Chozo ruins in which you face your own darkest self before your suit returns to you. The way that they interwove a lot of the audiovisual aesthetics of Metroid Prime into this game makes it feel like such a marriage of those two arms of the Metroid universe into one whole experience. It ties them so much tighter together than even, I can't think of his name, but the 2D Metroid producer who still adamantly insists that
Sakamoto.
Sakamoto, who's like, Prime's not canon. Well, clearly they thought otherwise with Zero Mission, because they brought over a ton of connected tissue and just built the depth of this world in a way that just was not possible on the NES. It's a wonderful game. It's a beautiful game. It's a game that I own a copy of and that I'm now kind of itchy for a playthrough of after talking about it right now. For me, it tops Fusion because of the nature of backtracking that you're able to do in Zebes that you are really not in the Biologic Lab Station. It's a lot more. That is a great game, I would say, that is a slightly more linear experience than previous 2D Metroids, which is why I give Zero Mission the nod here. Fantastic fucking game.
I will take this moment to say that I like Fusion more than Zero Mission. I think the Zero Suit section at the end of the game is bad, and it drags it down a whole lot for me. And yes, the backtracking is better, but not by much, and the vibes are more immaculate in Fusion. IMHO. But Zero Mission is still a really good game. EJ will never play these games.
I tried to play one of them right after I got my Pocket a couple years ago. Was it? I couldn't tell you which one it was. It was probably Fusion.
Probably.
I tried to play it, and doing anything that requires the R and L buttons on a Game Boy is just bad, and I don't want to do it. I could dock it and play it with a real controller. Ooh, I could do that. Play with a Super Nintendo controller.
Fusion's also on Switch Online if you would rather boot up a console that's already hooked up to your TV.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, because neither of us have used the docks that we spent way too much on for our analog pockets.
I just listened back to that episode where your dock shipped and you were only able to get one, and EJ was a little sore that he did get one right out of the gate, and you were so excited about it. You're so excited about that dock. It's gathered dust for years.
We're such marks, dude.
Whatever. You can always sell it. For me, the convenience of the rewind is enough to play on Switch versus the Pocket.
How's the emulation of that on NSO?
Game Boy Advance looks good.
It looks good and it runs well. No issues.
Yeah. I like the LCD filter that they have on there. It looks really nice. The only problem I've had with it very consistently with my TV, I don't know if it's a TV signal issue. It's something with the HDMI where if there is enough tiles of a certain like hue of yellow, this happened a lot in Minish Cap and in Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, that when I start scrolling horizontally, it'll glitch and like half the screen is static, and it's very disconcerting and it hurts my eyes. But I did some Googling and did not see anything about that, so I have no idea what the fuck's going on there. It's very strange.
What is it? Is it like screen tearing or like?
It's some sort of signal issue that's happening over HDMI with that like color band. I don't know. It's repeatable though. Like I could go to an area that I know it happened a lot in Minish Cap and just like go back and forth. It's when you get the gloves and you're just like tunneling back and forth. So I don't know. It's very strange.
Interesting. Well, tell us about your Metroid game, Nick.
My Metroid game, I'll just say the Golden Sun's really good, and I'm happy that it's on NSO, and I would really like a return to that franchise from that developer. That developer's been stuck in Mario Party hell for the last 20 years. No, they make the golf games, which they're not allowed to make good either. So yeah,
Not allowed.
They're not allowed to. Camelot, they do golf and tennis, I think. And back in the day, they made really cool golf and tennis RPGs on the Game Boy Color and on the Game Boy Advance. And they made Shining Force back in the day on Genesis and on other Sega consoles, which is a very, very beloved tactics RPG series.
Shout out
along
to
the lines of
Brandon.
a Fire Emblem,
That's how I know Shining Force.
of course. But they also made Golden Sun, which is a very competent and delightful classic JRPG on the Game Boy Advance, more akin to PlayStation 1 JRPGs than Super Nintendo JRPGs, which I think we can all kind of agree that PS1 JRPGs were better than SNES JRPGs. They're a little bit more, they reached for the heavens in some aspects. And in retrospect, on a system like Game Boy Advance, where it's like 5 years in the future, there are PS2 games, there's GameCube games, there are modern JRPGs. It's fun to see that era of, hey, let's do something that we used to do like 5 or 6 years ago, but do it more modern. And that it is now more classic than it was at the point. So like this is a 20-year-old game and they're really good. The combat system is very fun. The story plods on terribly and it's fine. It's totally fine, but the combat is fun. And something I really appreciate about Golden Sun, both the first one and Lost Age, which are of a piece, is that the overworld and the dungeons have puzzles more akin to a Zelda, and that is a lot more engaging than just wall humping your way around a JPEG like you could in Final Fantasy VII looking for treasure. So I like solving puzzles. I think that's more interesting and engaging than just wandering around. And there are not enough JRPGs that incorporate that. So shout outs Golden Sun. Also, rip rockin' OST. My God. Sakuraba-san was just going crazy on the guitars. This man is literally in like prog metal bands, and he does the most ridiculous shit with time signatures and just guitars for days. This man has. He also did the soundtrack for Baten Kaitos. He did some Dark Souls music. The man's legendary.
Love Golden Sun. God, I need to get a fizzy so that I can play through those again.
Yeah, Isaac should be in Smash. I'll keep saying it.
No objection. Final Smash with like a 3 gin stack summon. Come on. It's right there.
He basically gets his own like meteor equivalent. Like let the man kill some gods, you know? Also just having a Venus Lighthouse as the stage or something like that, and having the music, all those remixes. Yeah. There's already those songs. Some of those songs are already in Smash Bros because he has an assist trophy, but like give him some more. Get like 6 or 7 tracks in there for God's sake.
I tried to play that game too once upon a time. I think that was the first game I tried to play when I got my modded Game Boy Advance with the SP backlight put in. A lot of games I tried to play and probably just ended up scrolling Twitter instead.
I mean, it's no Dragon Ball Z Legendary Super Warriors.
You're right. One of them is the top 100. What can I say?
There's no ranked system in Golden Sun. Can't get Crimson or Iridescent.
Be so glad that you guys don't like multiplayer games, because there's no high quite like dropping into something competitive with your boys and just raging. Nothing like it.
Believe me, I did my time with the first 2 Destiny expansions, and I felt what it was like to start getting good at that PvP and getting the rush of, holy shit, I could literally do this all day long and all night long. And then I did. And then I went, oh my God, this is awful. I have to get out now or I am never leaving. And I left and I have never come back. And I'm very thankful for that. I loved my time there, but that would have consumed me in a way that I was not comfortable being consumed.
And I played a lot of Halo 4 online, did a lot of SWAT. That was a good ass time. But I'm no longer 24 or whatever when that game came out.
You know, part of it's also like, okay, this is my social time.
Yeah, it's your golf game. That's fine.
We were just talking the other day about Rocket League and how I played thousands of hours of Rocket League, and now I can't play it anymore because a particular somebody. Listen, there's only room for one person with a bad attitude in this fucking chat, and that's me. So back the fuck up, Chief. Oh, man. All right, so that's Golden Sun.
What's your special shout out, EJ?
Listen, I don't have a particular Game Boy Advance game that I could wax poetically over the way Chris did about Metroid, that you did about Golden Sun, because I'm apparently mostly played Pokemon.
Dude, yeah, right there. It's right there. You love Gen 3.
But
Pokemon Pinball Ruby.
oh, I talked about that at length on the Top 100 pod because I waffled on putting it on there. I waffled.
So shout it out now.
I want to tell a broader story. It's not about one particular game, other than maybe Fire Emblem, which we still disagree on, and you swear that you played the one, and I swear I played the other, but we rented the same copy, and I know that for a fact.
Well, either we did or we did not do that, but I certainly never played Sacred Stones, EJ. I know that for a fact.
They're the same game. The main characters look identical.
I don't think they do. I think you're thinking of the Japanese only one that is never came to the US, but okay.
Maybe. Okay. We've talked about Pocket Crusade on this podcast multiple times, going back years now. Pocket Crusade, our failed spin-off show where we were going to play through every single Game Boy Advance game and review them, basically, starting from the launch month. And I have notes from it must be 2016 when this whole thing started, 8 years ago. And I played a lot of really hilarious games in anticipation of this spin-off show, including Army Men Advance, Tony Hawk Pro Skater, not a good version of that game.
Isn't it 2? Or is it 1?
I think it's the first one. Fire Pro Wrestling, Pitfall the Mayan Adventure. Yes, I played that game for a whole hour. And yes, I still regret it. And then
It's no Pinobi.
Pinobi. I own that game. That's on the shelf. Pinobi is on the motherfucking shelf.
Why do I know that?
We're back to the B puns here, fellas. Choo Choo Rocket, which we have also talked about because that's
Great game.
great fucking game. Put a lot of hours into that game. Very good. I have an entire page of notes for Iridian 3D, which is not a good game, but I took so many notes. I will say, the graphics are great for being a like launch window Game Boy Advance game. Some of the backgrounds almost look better than a PS1 game. You know, PS1 was like, oh god, I loathe 3D on PS1. It just is just awful. Or even comparing it to something like Mario Kart Super Circuit, which is just like flat and blocky and blurry, and then you're in Iridian and you're like, whoa, dude, this is legit. Music is great. Absolute fucking ripper soundtrack. But everything else about it fucking sucks. The hit detection is crap. The controls are crap. The bosses are so unpredictable. The game is hard as shit. The game sucks. Iridian 2, unironically, probably one of the best shooters that I have played. I don't play a lot of shooters. Iridian 2 fucks. And I had to play it to compare to this game, obviously. And it came out much later than Iridian 1. But great shooter. I also played Star X to compare this. Star X is also a very good game. Much better than Iridian 3D. Much better. But anyway, yeah, it's tough to again come up with a honorable mention that I'm attached to because all I played was Pokemon, and no one needs to hear me wax about Pokemon any more than I ever have on this podcast. Let's go to when. But I do remember this time very fondly, Nick, and your spreadsheets of Game Boy Advance games sorted by release month and thinking, we're going to fucking do this.
It wasn't spreadsheets. I had no spreadsheets of that. I strictly had file folders of each ROM sorted by their release month.
Is that better or worse?
Worse by a pretty strong margin.
That was my impression, but I was like, I'll give you an out if you want to defend it.
No, it's worse. No, I played a lot of those Game Boy Advance games too. What was that racing game that was also a launch game? I was trying to play every launch game at the very least, but there was a lot of really, really bad ones.
Yeah, there were some bad ones. My list here only has the actual launch games. I know there were some more games within like the launch month that we tried to. But we tried to play that Stuart Little game, which not as bad as
I think
you would
that was
think.
more of a joke. That and the Chicken Little game, another little game, but a different story.
a different tiny
Still
animal.
a bad 2D platformer, but flip a coin. Either you get a real game or a 2D platformer on the Game Boy Advance.
I seem to recall something about Lizzie McGuire.
There was a few Lizzie McGuire games. I think was it the Game Boy or the Game Boy Color or the Game Boy Advance one that was literally just like a memo taking, like a PDA sort of app. There was one that was also a Dr. Evil game based on Austin Powers that was literally just like, here's a calendar, here's a clock.
Is that money laundering?
Asinine.
Wild.
Also published by Rockstar. So I don't know.
How many Game Boy Advance titles are there, Nick?
Over 1,000.
A lot of them.
Jesus Christ. So you were planning on like, you'll boot that ROM up, you'll put a little bit of time, and you're like, okay, I know this game. I don't need to play this game anymore. We can now talk about this game. Was that sort of thing, or y'all were going to beat all of these?
Oh, there's no way in fucking hell we're going to beat all of them. I don't beat the games I like. Why would I beat the games I don't like besides Skull Island Rise of Kong? But that was notable and given to me by close friends for my spectacular performance in not one, but 2 Fantasy Critic Leagues. So that needed to be beaten. But I would not spend my time beating Iridian 3D or the Liz McGuire game or any such other chaff.
Or any of our contributions to the, Console Crusade Top 100 video games of all time. But, I just have to bring that up
Exactly.
every podcast.
Exactly. I'm not going to beat Spider-Man 1 or 2. I'm sorry. EJ, how many of our top 100 games have you beaten?
I'll pull it up right now. I'll bring the receipts.
I bet we could count them on. We might be able
Probably
to
2
count
hands,
it on
right?
one hand. The number of our titles that EJ's beaten.
I'm just saying all the titles in general.
Well, we're gonna give him credit for his own. He doesn't get to count those. Like, obviously,
Well,
he's
he only
played those.
contributed like 10 of those anyway because he was trying to put like weird shit on their list.
Who would do
Dragon Ball
that?
games.
Who would put weird shit on the list? Like, I don't know, Plock on the Super
Trauma
Nintendo.
Center.
Trauma Center's great. Fuck you. That game is going nowhere. That game is going nowhere. Still the best use of the DS touchscreen they ever did.
I don't know, man. WarioWare Touched exists.
Oh, it's a fucking mini game collection. Come on.
Hell yeah,
You're
it
gonna
is,
tell me
brother.
like Taito
Yeah, it's a
Arcade
really good one.
20th anniversary bundle on GBA should be on the fucking top 100 because it's got a bunch of good mini games.
No touchscreen games in that, is there? And to be fair, I would not be opposed to a Game & Watch gallery on the list, but it would just have to be the best one. And what's the best one? I don't know. They're all great.
For
EJ?
They're all the same.
that's just the one I had on GBA. I thought it was great because it had the original and remade versions of all of them.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Game & Watch gallery for GBA, baby.
I like that. So, yeah, I still have fond memories of tackling some of those games with you, EJ. I appreciate you bringing that up as your special shout out to sort of dodge having to pick just one game.
I like to break the rules, brother.
Well played. You bent the rules. You didn't quite break them. You sort of molded them in your image.
Maybe the real GBA honorable mention is the friends he made along the way.
Oh boy, I'm looking at the top 100 right now. I've beaten a lot of these games.
How many of ours have you beaten?
I don't know how many of these are whose at this point. I don't know.
Well, you know what yours are.
I don't know. Did I submit Pokemon Crystal or did you? It was on my list for sure, but I don't know who technically it belongs to.
Well, overlapping lists, I would say, don't count. Like, if I was going to do this, I wouldn't count The Last of Us, even if you had submitted it, because I would have submitted it if you didn't. You know what I mean?
Well, see, then I don't know. Then no, I haven't beat Metroid Prime Trilogy or Elden Ring.
I would give you credit. I would give you credit for it if you'd have finished the remaster. I would have given that to you, even though that was
of course, if I had beaten the game, I would get credit for beating the game. Come on. A lot of these games are games that don't even have ends. Like, have you beaten Guitar Hero 2? Like, I've unlocked all the songs.
Did you beat it on Expert?
Come on.
I've beaten the hell out of that game. I've beaten a lot of these games.
Beat Star Fox 64.
Hell yeah. But like secret ending? That doesn't count. I'm not gonna do that. That would be a real pissant move.
Jeez.
Nah,
I've beaten
you're good.
Tetris.
You're good.
I've seen that rocket take off. That's beating Tetris for me.
I didn't beat The Witcher 3, guys.
I beat Pokemon Go. I uninstalled it. I defeated it. The evil has been defeated. Yeah, sorry, I'm just counting now. D3 houses.
Yeah, I'm
THPS2,
pulling this list up myself now. We're all gonna be in here.
I beat 3 houses. I put 80 hours into one playthrough and another 15 into another playthrough, but there's still like 3 entire games within that game that I have not even started.
You can't beat Wii Sports. No one's beaten DBZ Legendary Super Warriors. That's impossible. Yeah, it's mostly just like the back 20 that I haven't beat a lot of.
This man had no life to Elden Ring for 200 fucking hours, and he's like, Dragon Ball Z, too hard, never gonna beat it.
I've only beaten the first God, what would they call that? Like chapter or whatever of Doom? I never actually played the entirety of it.
Well, we're going to do episode 150, revisiting the top 100, and there's definitely going to be some swaps on here. And I don't know how it's going to go because I can't remember who submitted what without going back and listening to the 6 Hour podcast, because there's definitely going to be a moment where Chris is going to be like, Sonic 2 has to be on here, and I'm going to propose that we remove, like, I don't know, Call of Duty Warzone. I'm going to be like, fuck no, that's not going to happen.
Have you beaten Warzone, EJ?
I got 1,000 wins in Warzone, and that was my goal, and I accomplished it. Yeah, I beat it.
I counted. I've beaten 60 of these games.
54 for me.
Dang, you guys really counted. I didn't even. Oh, geez, Louise.
Yeah, man. I didn't even count some like Lego Star Wars Complete Saga. I've beaten the 4, 5. I've beaten 4, 5, and 6. I beat that Lego Star Wars, but I'm not going to.
Chris, have you beaten Pokemon Go?
I mean, I'm going to say yes. Like, I don't know what metric you can have for a freemium game to have considered it beaten, especially when it like doesn't have story. Like I played a lot of, before Pokemon Go, I played a lot of Final Fantasy Record Keepers, and had a ton of fun with that game. But that's got like a clear sense of you either have beaten all of the missions that are the battles that are inspired by each game, or you haven't, and I haven't. But with Pokemon Go, yeah, I would say I beat Pokemon Go.
I think looking at the list of games I haven't beaten, that there is maybe one of these that you also haven't. I think you have beaten all of these games that I haven't beaten, Chris.
That you have not?
Yes.
Jesus.
Because it's Final Fantasy VI, Skyrim, KOTOR 1, The Last of Us, Fire Emblem Awakening, you have not. Chrono Trigger, you have. God of War Ragnarok, you have. Wind Waker HD,
yep.
I think you have.
Not HD, but
I never actually finished that. MVC 2, Final Fantasy 12, Black Flag, Walking Dead Season 1, GTA 5, Dead Cells, Battlefront 2, Spider-Man, FF7 Remake, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Bioshock, Titanfall 2.
Didn't play that.
Titanfall 2 also.
Gonna play it.
But Bioshock, Pokemon Go, Witcher 3, Pikmin, Destiny, No Man's Sky, KOTOR 2, AC2, Mass Effect 3, NBA Street Volume 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, Wii Sports, Age of Empires 2. That's an EJ joint. Pokemon Conquest, EJ joint. Legendary Super Warriors. Are you gonna?
I'm gonna try. I want to beat this game. It's not gonna be until after Rebirth, especially now that I'm locked into. I finally started Resident Evil 4 this week, and I'm having a good time. No, the remake. Now that I've settled into how incredibly different it is from Resident Evil 2, like dramatically different in terms of how it wants you to play. I'm having a good time. I'm having a really good time.
Knife parries forever.
Knife parries, which is on the opposite shoulder button that it is in Rebirth, which is going to fuck me up in both of these games. Just trusting that like I have to kill everything, which is so shocking because in 2 it was like blow a leg off and then kite everything. That is the strat in 2. You cannot kill everything. You can kill very few things in point of fact. Sitting back with a rifle and sniping for a little bit and explosive barrels and getting into like a melee roundhouse kick that'll drop people to the ground. Like it's just really fucking different. There's so many guns. Like I don't know. It was really shocking to get into the first arena and go, oh my God, there are a ton of dudes here.
I've beaten exactly 50 of these games, and some of that is dubious. Yeah, did you beat Rocket League? Yeah.
Yeah, you did. I mean, like Destiny, same thing. I was like, I'm not going to say I beat it because I stopped after 2 expansions. Like I did all of the content that was in those expansions, but exactly. I still wouldn't say I beat Destiny.
And I would also put that on the list of games I will not go back and play.
Nah, I mean, there's no need to, especially the first one. Like, what would the point of that be?
Right.
Servers
Destiny
are still
2 is just a Destiny expansion anyway, so what does that mean?
Yeah, it's just really, really tough with games that are so expansion based and are live services. Like if we had World of Warcraft on our list, what would that mean?
Level cap, presumably. I mean, that'd be my assumption is level cap and all raid bosses done. I didn't do any of the raids in Destiny either. I never had a big enough party. I didn't know enough people to party up for the raids.
The game doesn't start until you start raiding, bro. Ooh.
Well, you say that, but
just like Scarlet and Violet.
Better than Sword and Shield's rating, that's for sure. Hey, listen, I'm gonna fuck off. I gotta get my bag, get over to campus, do this rehearsal. Don't quit on my account, though. Keep talking. Maybe talk some shit about me that I can discover next week when I listen back to this.
I have nothing bad to say about you that I haven't said to your face repeatedly.
There we go.
There's that shoe drop.
As is well, I know me, like Fry meme, like, All right, fellas, enjoy the rest of your time together. EJ, I'm glad that all three of us were here for a sizable portion of this. No, it's cool, dude. It's cool. I should have followed up. Didn't see a text and it didn't click for me because yesterday was so busy. All right, fellas, take care.
See you later, man. Oh man, I really could have used a countdown for Chris there. We'll figure it out.
You got another one when you came in, so
We'll
I think that
figure
should be
it out.
fine.
I'll
Should be fine.
figure it out.
The consummate professional will figure it out. Everyone else will just sort of throw shit at the wall and see what sticks.
What was Chris talking about? How the game could crash to the low 80s? Is he talking about Final Fantasy Rebirth in the chat this morning?
I think so, just because of performance problems.
Oh.
The remake also had some performance issues. People kind of glossed over it. I feel like that would largely happen again. People might be a little bit less forgiving of it, considering it's a PS5 exclusive. There might be some more people holding it to task, but it's not going to be enough to really drag it down. Like you said, drag it down from 90s to 80s. Like the last one was an 88. I think that's a pretty fair sort of ballpark range for it to land in. I think it's going to land within like two points of 88, north or south. I don't know.
Yeah, I believe it. Well, anything else you want to talk about, or should we just wrap it up and then we can talk shit off the air?
We can talk shit off the air. I don't know if you wanted to talk about any news stuff. You'd mentioned that a little bit when we were talking about what we could have in our lineup for recording, but that was also more just sort of looking into the future as content between now and our revisiting of the 100.
I know I'm looking through the game news thread because anytime I see game news that my brain actually registers, I just put it in there now.
Yeah, and we could talk about the malding over Xbox stuff, but I think that's largely a lot of conjecture, and it always has been. And there's supposed to be a thing happening this week that they're going to talk about it more, so I don't know if it's really worth talking about right now. Same with like speculation over a direct, like whether that's going to be happening soon. Like it probably will because they usually do. So what's the point of talking about it?
Right.
I guess half of our podcast are us talking about what Switch 2 is going to be and what the next direct is going to have. So
30% of the podcasts that we've done since the inception of the podcast has pretty much been speculating about Nintendo hardware one way or the other. We started it that way.
It's our tilt. It's fine.
Yeah, the Xbox thing, I know we've had that exact conversation before. Like what if Game Pass comes to other consoles? Yeah, it's just, like you said, it's all conjecture, so we have to just wait and see. I know Todd Howard assured people that consoles aren't going anywhere, which is what you do during a time like this, whether that is actually true or not. You have to assure all of your employees you haven't laid off yet that they're not going to be laid off before the inevitable layoffs. So, that doesn't mean anything either,
No, it really doesn't.
Todd Howard, Phil Spencer? I get them confused.
Phil Spencer.
One's Bethesda, one's Microsoft. They're all the same.
Todd Howard is Bethesda. Phil Spencer is Microsoft.
There you go. Yeah.
Big Daddy Xbox.
That's what I read the other day. Don't worry, guys. We're not going anywhere until we do.
Enter Shikari voice.
I'm glad you guys got to chat about your Final Fantasy.
You got the tail end of it. You'll hear more of it.
Yeah, maybe I should play it. No, I have so many things I want to play, and then Warzone Ranked just fucked me up, dude.
It could be your unwind game if you wanted to have something like that, where I don't know how fucking how wound up you get after playing Warzone for a couple hours with the boys. If you need like a little sesh to do something after, but I feel like you're probably more just likely to scroll Twitter and let that be your unwind, your mental dissociation.
Like I said, I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Scarlet or Violet, or which one I have, and dude, it's just such a grind. I'm still in the post game. Like you get to the end and you have to rebeat all the gym leaders, and then there's like a tournament, and then I still have 2 DLCs to play, which my brother says is like really hard. Like it's all double battles, and even if you have raid ready level 100s, you're still gonna have a hard time with it. I'm like, well, that's a nice change of pace, but also, my God, this game never ends, and I have to go still catch like 600 Pokemon. It's just so much. Quite the undertaking, but I'm doing it for my Pokemon home, okay? And then when Let's Go Wooper and Togepi come out.
I mean, Wooper and Smoochum, don't you know? Those are the extremely popular Pokemon. You saw that I posted, right? That the 3 colors for the Pokemon Mini were based on Chikorita, Wooper, and Smoochum. I can't unknow that. That's going to stick with me to my dying day.
Well, it's so interesting to go back to that and say, like, obviously those, like, they're constantly chasing a new Pikachu, right? But if you look at all the most popular Pokemon, Pikachu's the only one who isn't like a cool Pokemon. It's Charizard, Lucario, and Greninja. These are all the popular, and then cute little Pikachu. Yet they're still trying to chase the next cute little Pikachu. Nobody wants cute Pokemon, man. We want cool, sick-ass, badass Pokemon.
Not to mention every gen also makes their own Pikachu. Like, they're not regional variants, but they basically are.
Right.
It's pathetic, but to me, the obvious answer is they chose these 3 colors, and then they're like, wait, what Pokemon are these 3 colors? And that are fairly recent. Because the Pokemon Mini was in 2000 or 1999. So Gen 2 was like fresh on the shelves. So they're like, okay, what 3 Gen 2 Pokemon are purple, green, and blue?
Yeah, I guess that's what they had to do.
And then they chose the 3 dumbest ones.
Hold on, I gotta look at Gen 2.
I like Wooper. Wooper is fun. Wooper's fine, but he's not what you market behind, you know?
Okay, what were the colors?
Chikorita green,
Okay.
Wooper blue, and Smoochum purple or pink. It's like a pinkish purple. Smoochum, the baby version of Jinx. The most problematic Pokemon that's ever existed.
They could have gone Espeon. Espeon was popular.
Yeah.
They could have
Espeon
gone
rules.
Granbury.
Snubbull would have been a better choice than Granbury.
Smoochum is cute, but also
Smoochum is heinous. Don't tell me Smoochum's cute.
Smoochum's cute. Look at that fucking haircut, dude.
No.
Look at the straight
That's
bang,
awful.
dude. Rocking the straight bang. Like you could have just gotten away with like calling it Suicune purple because Suicune's got a sick purple mane. Okay, I get it. You choose one of the starters. I guess Chikorita green, like that's fine.
Just one of them, you know. Not
the most
Totodile
popular
blue.
of the 3, right? Give me Apom, dude. Give me my little monkey boy.
I know I chose Chikorita, but I think Chikorita might be the least desirable starter Pokemon that's ever existed.
Ever?
What's worse?
Are we talking like statistically here? Or are we just talking like the overall?
I'm thinking like just widely, like statistically, I think if everyone had to choose one, the fewest people would pick Chikorita as their favorite starter out of all the generations. If you asked 100 people to rank all of the starters, Chikorita would be bottom tier.
Yeah, Gen 4 was like low-key good. Like, it's like Gen 1, Gen 4.
High-key good. Gen 4 is probably the best starters since Gen 1.
I agree with you. But like, you never hear people talk about them. Like, Gen 3 sucked. Sceptile's fine. Sceptile's cool. Blaziken's fine.
Sceptile's very fine. And Torchic is overplayed.
Gen 2 sucks. Gen 2 is like bot tier for sure. The Unova starters are really bad. Superior is actually really cool. Embror and Samurott both fucking suck.
Superior would have been a lot better if it just turned into a human lady.
Please stop. They ruined my cute little cat. I didn't evolve my starter in Violet. I just kept it a little kitty boy the entire time. I don't want some fucking creepy anime waifu. Yeah, it's not for me. Greninja's cool. Delphox is like whatever. Fennekin's cool though. Fennekin's a cutie. But like they Chestnut sucks, dude. This is like shitty Digimon territory. What are we doing? I hate Alola. I do not like Incineroar. I hate that he caught on. Decidueye
cool.
is way too much.
I like Rowlet and I like Decidueye.
Sword and Shield are bad. I don't even like Grookey.
The clown
adorable.
water guy is a step too far.
Cinderace again, like could be a cool design, but he's too much of a human. You know, Rillaboom, like so they get so close, and then they just take it over the fucking edge, trying to be. It's just cringy, trying to be edgy and cool, and it's like just dial it back. Charizard's tight as fuck because he's just a sick dragon. He's not a sick dragon with like a spiked collar and chains around his wrists. He's just a fucking dragon. Like you don't have to go overboard here.
Yeah, they can't make just another dragon though.
Oh, Violet starters are so bad. Skeledirge.
I love that guy. He's really cool. I like Fire Ghost. That's a really, really cool combo.
It's a great typing.
And it's not just another bipedal humanoid creature at the end. And it's not some shitty clown. Like Skeledirge is clearly the best final evolution out of the 3.
Low bar.
It is a low bar, but it's still really cool also.
Okay, strictly starter, not looking at the evolutions. Who's the worst starter here? I have to know for science. Poplio, trash.
Maybe we should do this on pod next week
Yeah, right.
with Chris. Or do you want to just be you and I talking about the worst starters so he can get mad about it?
I'm still recording, so for this could
Same.
This could be. We'll just leave this in. Fuck it, dude. I haven't outroed yet. Who's the best starter? Just strictly aesthetically. I love Sprigatito. Love Sprigatito. I'm a cat.
You like
cat
cats?
guy. I love cats. I love Grookey. I love monkeys.
Piplup is still really fantastic.
See, Rowlet and Litten are cute too. Like they always start off decently. Fennekin, adorable. But like it becomes like just a weird mage in a robe. It's just so not cool to me.
I think Litten is better than Sprigatito as far as cat designs.
I like them both. I have a level 100 Sprigatito and a level 100 shiny Litten in my party on Pokemon Violet. So, what can I say?
Turtwig, best grass starter.
I'm not taking him over the monkey or the cat, but Turtwig is a cute little dinosaur. Gen 4 is really good.
It's really good.
I didn't appreciate how good this was until I replayed the Diamond and Pearl remakes. Really good starters. Gen 3 was pretty lame. Gen 2 is like low-key just bad, dude.
Yeah.
Like the coolest one is just like a fucking weird bear.
Nobody knows what it is, actually.
And now in the games, like if you go into your box and look at him, he doesn't have the
fire's
flames
not
back.
on.
So he's just like, this is a fucking ferret?
If they did
What
that with
is this?
Charmander, that would mean Charmander's dead.
Is that canon to the games or is that just in the show?
Nobody knows. There's probably a Pokedex entry about that somewhere.
Bulbasaur? Never liked that guy.
Shout out to Tepig.
Yeah, he's all right.
I hate Oshawott.
Yeah. Stupid looking, bald ass, old man looking ass, Pennywise the clown looking ass motherfucker. Get out of here. Yeah, man. They just, oh God, I hate Popplio's so big. Just get out of here. It's pretty shocking to me how not great Pokemon designs have been for a long time. You could call 70% of Pokemon and probably make a really nice roster of aesthetically well-designed Pokemon with good typings. It's so bloated and there's just so much crap. I mean, they just ran out of ideas and they're like, all right, let's just start turning inanimate objects. Trash cans, keys.
Grimer and Muck exist in the first game.
Sentient fucking goop? Come on. Creepy as hell.
And Ditto. The sentient goop. This is more goop.
But the thing is, less is more.
They have a Pokemon in Gen 1 named Seal. And it's a seal. And it evolves into Dugong, which is a Dugong.
Nick, less is more. I'd rather have Seal the Seal than like Clink the Gear Pokemon. Well, what are we doing? Who's the fucking ice cream cone?
The ice cream cone is better than Grimer and Muck.
Oh, come on, man. Also, the localization names have only gotten worse. It's actually shocking to go online and see how many Gen 1 Pokemon are on the worst designed Pokemon of all time. And I'm like, hey, whoa. I came here looking for confirmation bias, not to be attacked. What are you doing to me?
Some of them are pretty bad.
Oh, my goodness. This has just been completely meandering. We'll fucking wrap it up. Console Crusade Podcast, solo.to/Console Crusade. Go fucking find us. Something tells me Chris forgot to do that at the top of the pod. Or you. I don't know who hosted today.
No, we didn't shout out the socials. We just introduced ourselves and the fact that you were missing and that we were confused. And just sort of jumped into it pretty quick.
I'm here now. Just like that, he was gone. Console Crusade Podcast.